Okay, I'm testing this out just a minute and I'll see if I'm online here. Let's see. Try this again here. Yep, I'm online, so I'm doing good. Alright, what are we going to talk about today? This is Fraley's weekly vlogs called Random Stuff. And this is 6/13/2017, and it's 11:51 on a Tuesday. And it's fixing to turn Wednesday here in a few minutes. Well, 7, 8, 9 minutes. To be exact. But anyway, had a few things I wanted to talk about today or tonight. Well, today we saw the Russian, not Russian, but Sessions uh, hearings in which Sessions had to answer a bunch of questions from uh, Washington legislators, senators to be exact. A number of different senators, including Senator Cotton from Arkansas, who I heard or watched. I didn't exactly see his line of question, and I might have briefly saw it, but I was kind of watching a ball game and doing that, so I was switching back and forth. And I was able to see Trump doing a little bit of made a brief statement too, but I'll get more into that. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that Sessions went to that, and he was pretty well open and honest with them from my viewpoint, from what I saw, and I saw quite a bit of it. And he was pretty truthful. He denied any type of collusion with the Russians, of course, at different meetings, and there's no way for them to prove that he did. I mean, he said he may have been at certain places when those Russian people were there, but that he had nothing to do with it. So he, in no way, was involved in any kind of thing to do with the elections causing a different outcome than what should have been. So it was all just a bunch of bull malarkey that the Democrats, they're still jealous because Trump won and the Clintonites didn't. Uh, as a matter of fact, I saw where there was some more fake news put out by CNN, and I caught them on my own. I don't think anybody else even brought this out. I don't think too many people even saw this. If they did, I haven't. I've been watching the news today, and I haven't seen anywhere where anybody else caught this. But I switched over to CNN to kind of see their viewpoint from it, and I watched it over there for a little bit, and CNN claimed that Trump watched the whole Sessions hearings, which is not true because I just happened to be online at the time, and Right Side, I believe it's called Right Side Politics. It's on YouTube anyway, and Right Side Politics is I believe is the name of the uh, channel or whatever you want to call it on YouTube anyway. Uh, about the time the Sessions was giving his uh, answering questions around, which was, he stated he was doing it for a pretty good while. It was around 3 o'clock when I saw this. Trump was actually aboard, just getting off a plane when I turned it over and watched it on YouTube, and he gave a brief statement about the his new health care bill, the repeal of Obamacare, and he's trying to get his new health care bill passed. And he gave a brief statement about that. It wasn't even 10 minutes long. I mean, it was very brief indeed. And then he went off somewhere else. It was actually in Wisconsin. Now, he may have saw some of Sessions' hearings, but for the but it wasn't the whole time. So it's probably not a really big deal. But it's just the fact that CNN kind of didn't give the whole story behind the news events and stuff, and they'll say things different from what's actually happening. He's no way he could have saw the whole hearings because he was away from it, giving his own little uh, statements to the press. In Wisconsin, it had to be near an airport or something where his plane landed because I saw him get off the plane and get it. And that was around 3 o'clock. And what else? Oh yeah, during the Sessions questioning, I did notice that there's a lot of questions being asked, and the whole session was supposed to be about Sessions having collusion with the Russians, and that was supposed to be the line of questioning about what it was about. But it didn't end up about that. It started getting into obstruction of justice by Trump, which was nothing to do with the hearings. That wasn't the whole point of the hearings. And somebody else even mentioned that. I think it was Cotton that mentioned that. I think I heard them say that about him. And so they really kind of got off the point of the whole hearing. So they did. Some of the liberal-minded commie pinkle BS artists on the liberal Democrat side didn't know what was going on. They couldn't make up their mind whether the hearings were uh, about a collusion with the Russians, or whether it was uh, uh, about obstruction of justice by Trump. So they don't know what's going on there, and it just makes a guy wonder. And I saw a couple other things I want to add to this too. During yesterday, I saw something really kind of sickening and disheartening. Well, maybe not disheartening. I don't know why I used that word, but it's kind of sick and kind of wacko, I thought. And especially if you want to, even if they did do it, why would they put it online? What were they trying to prove? It was a girl, and she was in a bathroom, and she was licking the top of the commode. The commode lid was up, and she was licking around the rim of the commode. Now, why would somebody want to put something like that on Facebook, where thousands and millions of people go every day and look at? I mean, what kind of sick old liberal would do that? And the reason I say liberal, because it had writings about liberals and stuff on the captions and the headings and stuff on that little piece in Facebook. I just thought that was so sick. And then what else? Yeah. And there was something else today. Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, today a guy, I saw this was on Facebook again, and this is kind of sicko. Not only are they getting nasty and doing stuff, licking commodes, but today another liberal, of course, again I read the caption, and it was about liberals and stuff, how they have a mental disorder. The liberal commie pinkle BS artists, and this a young kid, or I don't know how old he was. He looked like he was in his probably late teens, early 20s. But anyway, he was online, or he was in his front yard in front of his house, and he had somebody else with a hose waiting and he had some scalding water, scalding hot water, and he said he was going to take the challenge. So he picked up the water above his head. It was in a some kind of container thing, and then he poured it all over himself, and then he fell to the ground and in agony and pain, and that guy starts. And the other person, I don't remember if it was a guy or what, but it showed him spraying him with the water from a hose to, I guess, cool him down. Because, man, he was hurting bad. Any kind of idiot that would do something like that, I mean, and it said they were liberals. So the liberals are really going wacko. What kind of people are we allowing, or what kind of people are we allowing in this country? I mean, like that. What kind as the liberal education really caused people to be like that? And these are all young people that were doing this. The person licking the commode and the person scalding themselves with water. Just crazy, stupid stuff. I mean, what's wrong with our education system nowadays? I mean, I even heard the other day that now in a lot of colleges have a place where kids that feel down and in the blahs because of their political thinking, or they're down about some kind of issue or something going on in their lives, or something happening that they just don't like and they can't handle. The colleges are now allowing them space to themselves. They call it sanctuary spaces or places, on college campuses, so they can go off and uh, be. They can go off and comfort themselves and relax and get their mind back on the world. But I mean, now we got sanctuary cities, we got sanctuary places in college, and there was something else I heard about some kind of other sanctuary place. But man, it's just stupid. Sanctuary cities for aliens and stuff. I mean, we have not aliens, but illegal aliens, uh, and that's totally against the law. Yet these some of these big cities, I think Chicago, San Francisco, maybe, and some other really big towns, and well, I believe they passed a law and they outlawed them all in Texas. They won't let them have them down there. I believe that's right. Y'all might want to Google that to make sure of my information, but I believe that's what I heard, and I believe that's right. And but they the government's stepping in too, and if they're going to do that, then the government's going to deny them funds and money for their little city projects and other stuff that goes on. So uh, they're just shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, it's almost like they're rising up against the big guy. It's like the little bitty Peckerwoods is trying to rise up against the big. It's like kids rebelling against their parents or something. You know what I mean? Because in a way, Washington D.C. or our federal government is our parent, and I don't mean that in the sense that you might think. I just meant that they're the head of our established form of government, and you got these little Peckerwoods rising up against them because they want to do something illegal and help other people from other countries. I mean, illegals that shouldn't be here anyway, and that probably break our law. And I mean, they're not all bad, I don't guess, but if they really want in our country, let them come in our country illegal, like, and they deserve what they get when it comes to punishment and law enforcement and being deported and all that kind of thing. And I wanted to talk more about that in another sense too. I've been the world's really truly becoming a smaller place for me in a way because technology's made it that way. You can go on the internet and see virtually any country anywhere in the world almost, maybe except for some real rural areas and rural countries. I mean, you probably can't get everything everywhere, but for the most part, the internet really takes you all over the place. You can actually be right there on the spot and not be there. You can be watching through a lens from somewhere else, but you can see what's going on. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I've been kind of watching the England or the UK news from the UK, like Sky News, what is it, Sky News or Skynet or whatever. I watch that news a lot because I've got kind of interested in the UK and especially London and England. And there's been a lot of happenings there. There's been the Manchester deal where there was several little bombs, and then there was an attack in London. And I saw some rare video clips that they didn't really show on regular TV on YouTube. It actually showed the attackers, three of them. I saw them coming out on the streets, and they captured, and it didn't last but just a few seconds. But I saw three different attackers come out, and they stabbed this one poor guy, and knocked him down to the ground, and stabbing him, and the police officers got there within record time, or 8 minutes, I think it took them to figure out what was going on and get there. But the poor guy was getting attacked, and luckily the police got there just in time, and shot that. I think there was like 3 or 4 cops. They shot that one guy, and there was 2 others that came out. The attackers left, and then I guess they came back. They couldn't find anywhere to go. They were on the streets, and I guess they were blocked off or locked out or out of a building or something. So they ran back toward the police, and the police shot them down or dead right there, and that was all within a matter of seconds. And they had fake bombs strapped to themselves, belts, like they wear, and they had fake little bombs made on it on that little belt-like thing they wear around their waist and chest and over their shoulders. But it really was. It was. They didn't show that on mainstream TV, and but I was able to watch a little bit of footage off from YouTube. Now it was less than a minute and a half that they did that. I've been watching this really good report from a guy. Let me see, what's the guy's name? Can't forget it. Yeah, Davy Russell. I happen to have it wrote down. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but David or Davy Russell in London, and he does motivate news online, especially on YouTube and other places, and he does a lot of documentaries, and he's done a lot of shows in London, and I've kind of conversed with him, and I keep in touch with what's really going on. He really speaks out against. They have, believe it or not, they have their form of liberalism and socialism and communism over there too, and he's really against it, and he's really against all these. They have their illegal, or they have what they call immigrants come in over there too. That's really caused problems. Even the mayor of London is a Muslim. I think 10 to 12 other cities. I think in England or in the UK or in that area, well, I believe in England, that are Muslims, and they actually want to deport a lot of those. And here's the big kick on this. The UK claims there's as many as 3,000 refugees in the UK that should be deported. Now, these are 3,000 that are on a watch list. These are the bad guys that they've been watching and that have questionable things in their background. They could be terrorists, and they say they should be deported. And there is as many as 23,000 others that are questionable, even are also slightly just below those 3,000, but still up there in high regards as far as being terrorists that could be terrorists, not are, but that could be. That there are a lot of questions about that they need answers to, and they might should be deported too. And now they were talking about Muslims in the world. They said there's about 2.1 billion Muslims in the world, and about, let me see, here, and I forget the exact percentage, but of those, I don't know if it was like 10% or 5% or what, but again, the percentage escapes me. About 160 million of those are extremists. So there's about 2.1 billion Muslims, and 160 million of those are extremists. Now you can use your own math to figure that out to get the percentage if you want to. I don't know exactly how much that would be, but probably less than 10% or less. And I looked up some other figures that I thought might be interesting. Of course, I'm not a real statistician. Excuse me, my mouth's dry. But the extremism in some countries is really running amok because of the population in Pakistan. For it, this is just an example. Um, uh, in again, let me excuse me for my anyway. Excuse me for my dry mouth. Let me get a drink here. Maybe that'll stop my throat. In Pakistan, anyway, about 20, about 72% of the people that were questioned, uh, I guess they did kind of like a survey, and about 72% of the people in Pakistan uh, had a did not have a unfavorable uh, uh, view of ISIS. So, in other words, they hate the Western world, and especially America, and they're really hitting Europe hard now. They know that we're cracking down, and they've got more pull and influence in Europe because Europe's allowed so many of them in. So they've got places of refuge, kind of like sanctuary cities in a way, kind of like us to Mexico. We allow them in here, and we got big cities that'll protect them. Well, they have their own little cells and stuff over in Europe. The ISIS, Syrians, and other refugees from extremist countries have their own little cells, and they probably have networks all over Europe, and they have people and agents, kind of like people that's been set there that have pulled a mask or wearing a mat. They're like a sheep and wolves clothing. You know what I mean? They're 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 wearing a false. They're having false. They have like a false identity. They claim to be one thing, but there's something else. There's a lot of evil that if they don't watch out, it's going to triumph. And that's what's happening in London. That's why they're having so many attacks and stuff now. And I saw tonight where they had a burning down of a big building. And I say it's somewhere outside London, somewhere. I know the exact details, but it's still coming in. It's still happening. It's burning as I'm speaking right now because I just watched it on Sky News. But I wouldn't doubt that, if that wasn't an act of terrorism, they want to kill and maim people and hurt people as many as they can, and they'll find new. And I don't think they've really thought of doing it like this before, but they're finding new strategies all the time to attack people. They're trying everything. When the government of any country shuts down one thing over there, then they'll come up with something else to do just to distract them. They'll get them leaning one area, and then they'll have to, then the government forces will have to fight in another area. You know what I mean? A different way of thinking, a different. It's just going to get ridiculous, and they're going to have to ban those people, and they're going to have to deport some of those people out of there. That's the only way they'll ever stop it. And slowly and gradually, those people, as they populate those areas over the year, they'll eventually take Europe back over and reach up as high as even up in England. Well, they had to drive them out once before. If anybody remembers history, they drove out the Moors in in 1492 they actually down below France and Spain and stuff. They drove them out, and crusades, and there was several different crusades. I even have a book about it somewhere. I need to read that book, but I never did finish that book. That's why part of my problem. I have so many books that I don't. I like to do other things too. I don't like to spend all my time reading, but I do like to read now and then and catch up on things. But I'm an admirer of history, and I like to read about history. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. They're slowly, gradually taking over up there, the Muslims, that is, and what they want. And I watched a documentary years ago, back in 1998, 2000, somewhere in there. I watched a show on Lynx TV over Direct TV over my satellite dish, and Lynx TV in it, and it had a show about Osama bin Laden. That's way back then when I saw this, and back then, even then, before he had been guilty of some bombings and stuff. I think even back then, but of course he wasn't as big and widespread. But his goal, he said his goal was to restore the old Ottoman Empire. They wanted to start a caliphate, kind of like what ISIS is doing now, and that was their goal. And if people remember history, and my point is, remember history. That's what they did. They swarmed like bees, and they took over vast amounts of territory. And they're doing it a little different now. They may not can overrun a lot of military forces and stuff, but they can populate areas by playing to people's sympathy, getting people to feel sorry for them because they're having problems in their own country, and so people feel sorry for them and they take them in, kind of like Trump did when he read that speech about the snake. The woman let him in the end when the snake was healed. The snake bit the woman and killed her because she was so stupid. She was stupid enough to let the snake in. She took him in, and he well, that's what's happening to Europe now, and that's what will happen to us here in America if we don't straighten up our way. I've said this many times, and many of you people probably get tired of listening to me say this, but if you watch what's going on, and you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be brilliant to see what's going on. You just got to watch and see what's going on. But but you also have to take action. You just can't allow it. You take action by uh, throwing a fit about it by protesting. And I don't mean protesting like the liberal, commie, pinko, Democrat uh, BS artists do, but I mean by awareness, alerting people and making them aware, just telling them what's going on, and alerting your congressmen, your legislators, and have them change the law so that can put a stop to this stuff. Just like Trump's ban. Trump's really trying hard, but the left's really working against him, and he's put out 2 or 3 bans, and he's even taking it to the Supreme Court now. I hope he wins that, so they can ban those people from coming over here. We already got 22 camps, some all over the place, and I live pretty close to 2 of them. And of course, I don't think I'll have much trouble here, but who knows? You never know where they'll strike and the evil one will raise its head next and strike the snake, and that's what they do. But let's see, anything else I was going to talk about. Uh, oh yeah, This was more on the Sessions thing, and there was something I wanted to show too. Yeah, this is what it is. This will probably be my last little segment thing here, but this is on Comey. A lot of bull crap going on Comey, and he got fired because Trump didn't like the way he was doing things. See, Comey's kind of wishy-washy. He's one of them superior thinking guys that's real intelligent, but he's out for his own gain, you know what I'm saying? He's out to protect his he's out to protect himself so he can keep his established role in the government and the FBI. He wants to make himself look good. He wants to look like the innocent guy, but he's one of these kind that straddle the fence. They can't make up their minds on what side they want to be on. That's the perfect example was during the Clinton email scandal that was going on during the election and the primaries and stuff. One minute he sided against her, and then he sided for her, and then he went back against her again at the end. And then he said, "Oh, that's all right. It's not much going on." Basically said, "Well, we don't. There was intent, but it was by accident or something to that effect." You know, I'm just kind of paraphrasing it kind of a little bit. He wasn't for sure. He didn't know. He was just making that bull crap up. He's supposed to be a Republican, but he's supposed to be smart and not. He's supposed to be impartial, but he was straddling the fence, folks. He didn't know which side he wanted to go on, and because he was being like that, trying to be impartial and fair, he was ruining himself and ruining his own not credentials, but his own how do you say it? His own reputation. Somebody that he looked as though he was somebody that was weak. Yeah, he looked intelligent, but he could make no decisions on stuff. And when you put people in the high position like he is, and others similar positions, high in the government and the FBI and other intelligence agencies and stuff, then you have to be able to make concrete decisions. You have to make stable decisions. I mean, yeah, you got to be fair and stuff, but you can't straddle the fence and sway one way and sway another. You got to make a determination, and you got to justify it by the law. And he couldn't do that, and that was his problem. And there's something I wanted you to watch here to kind of, he got kind of, he got kind of in trouble by some other people too. Civil rights problems he had. He's being sued by an Intel contractor. Sues Comey for building up civil rights violations that affected as many as 20 million people. So let me move that over here and I'll let you see what this is all about. Okay, let me make this a little bigger. Okay, just watch this one clip if you don't see what I'm talking about here.
Point. Sarah Carter, John Solomon are out with a huge story. Here's the headline. Ex-Intel contractor sues Comey, alleging FBI covered up mass civil liberties violations. And joining us now with their special report and more, Sarah Carter, John Solomon. John, I'll start with you. Anything I'm saying here that's wrong, in your view?
Well, listen, we have a man tonight that filed a lawsuit that walked out of the NSA, and FBI with 47 hard drives, 600 million documents that were classified. This is way larger than Snowden. He gave it back to the FBI and said, the reason I took him is I want to sit down and show you all these mass civil liberties, and nobody's heard about this in the last 2 years. I think it's a pretty important story, and it goes to this larger issue of how much abuse may be going on beneath the intelligence community's cover. And we need to get an answer about how often our identities are compromised, how often our privacy is affected. We've been looking at this for 3 months, and there's a lot of concrete evidence, facts, that there are violations going on that need to be addressed.
And Sarah, so what your report is saying here is you had an ex-Intel contractor suing Comey, saying that the FBI, on a mass scale, covered up mass civil liberties violations against Americans, and he has evidence. Isn't that a little bit bigger than Russia collusion with no evidence, as I just proved up to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. This is on a much larger scale. We have seen the itemized reports of the 47, and we've posted them on our website at circa.com, of the itemized list of hard drives that he gave to the FBI, signed by the FBI. We have all the documentation to show this. And think about this, Sean. He said, and I just spoke to him before I came to see you, he said he unmasked, with the technology that he had, with the NSA, over 20 million Americans. 600 million documents. He said if you stack those up, that's 30 miles high. 30 miles high, but over 20 million Americans. And I said, well, what was it you...
And I'm going to get back to me, and I'm going to finish this up. Anyway, if you can hear from that, he got in trouble. He's being sued by some kind of Intel contractor. He's being sued because he basically covered up some civil rights violations that apparently that he or some of his staff or something's guilty of, and so he's got more problems over the horizon. He's not doing so well right now, I don't think. His whole credibility, yeah, there's the word I was looking for a while ago, credibility. Comey's whole credibility is being thrown down and stepped on. He's being used like a doormat, and they're walking all over him now. And he bucked up against the wrong guy, and Trump, I got a feeling, because Trump's going to push the envelope all the way. And Trump's just not the sort of guy you want to mess with, and that's why I'm glad he got elected, because we need somebody like that that can stand up for our government, that won't be pushed around by the world like Obama seemed to want to. See, Obama and Comey, they have a lot in common. They're right out of the same mold, if you ask me. They both don't know what they're doing. Their credibility's been zapped, and they'll do anything and everything to stay in power, anything they can. But they're gone now. We don't have to worry about them no more. But they have plenty to worry about. They put us through misery. Now it's their turn. They're going to be pushed in the mud, and they'll be falling in the mud. So, I'm going to get off from here and see how this worked out. Hopefully, this uh, whole thing came through on here pretty good, and it's a good recording here, and I can play it back and listen to it and see if there's any technical issues that I have on here. And excuse me, a little bit of the old gas there, the old burp. But anyway, I'm going to get off from here and bid you farewell till next time. And hope this thing comes through good. So, I'm going to continue to watch the news. Especially, I've got kind of interested in the UK. I'm going to be watching them a lot. And I would watch for the French and others, but I don't understand French, so I probably wouldn't learn much. Maybe there's some English-speaking newscasters from those countries. I can listen to their news through that or something, so I'll check that out too. So I'm going to bid you all good night for the night, and till next time.